Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I know.
How's everyone
Where's
doing?
Paul vanished off to?
So I
Paul
had to
did
get
a vanishing act. Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hope you're all well.
What's going on again, guys?
How's it going, my friend? Nice to see you once again.
Yeah, it's good.
This time you're on for the full 2 hours, my friend. So I'm hoping that people are going to be asking you some questions and stuff like that. So, look, half an hour last time wasn't long enough. So yeah, fantastic that you can join us, mate. Really appreciate your time and stuff. But first things first, I customary look and seeing who's in the house. I know there's not many people in at this moment in time, but I'm sure that'll come good. Tony, as always, is in. Evening, Tony. Cottage Reef. Evening, Cotty. Skids. Techers Reef. As always, John. Oh, you all, John. Haley. Drippy Reef Geek already started. Yeah, maybe we could come back onto that later on.
Well, maybe not, but I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Yeah. MK Reefer. Evening, MK Reefer. Howard. Stu's Reef. UKM 120. John's Reef UK. Evening, John. Andy's Reef. Chris, yeah, I thought he wasn't going to be able to make it. He did message me saying he might not be able to make it. Nice to see you, Paul, that you're off. Reefport, evening, Reefport. Stuart Pinnell, evening. Cornish Reefer, evening, Cornish Reefer. Haley, once again. Woody's Reef, evening, Woody. AB Reef. Scott, our good friend Scott, evening, Scott. Marek, let me see. Bob K. Now they're all beginning to join us. Now they're all strolling in. Now they're all strolling in. Julian, evening, Julian. Martin, evening, Martin. Julian. PJ Goblin. NJ Reefer. Clent Coddle, evening, Clent Coddle. And Jordan. Finally, we are up to date. Sky Marine. And evening, Jordan. Right then, so we are. Oh, and just at that moment, RCW joined us. Evening, Paul. Hope you're well, my friend. So then, first things first. How's things been going on our reefs? And I'm going to come to. I'll go to the guest. How's things with your tank this week, mate? All good?
Yeah, it feels good, man. Some good improvements on it. Went away for about 4 days last weekend. As soon as I left, I started checking pH. I was up to like 8.47, like constantly, like peak for the synthesis. Yeah, then nighttime was about 8.2. But what was very interesting, I think I put this on Instagram, how much my alkalinity and calcium dipped.
Yes.
So I was at 8.7, 8.6. Yeah, just went down to 8.29 straight away. I was like, okay. But now we're back. It's back up to 8.7. So it just proves pH. Yeah, it's the rhythm of pH. Everything, man.
Yes. We spoke about this as well, haven't we? And the pH on, like, we've said before, haven't we, Paul? Like, pH really has only been spoken about, really, for it over the past maybe, year and a half? 18 months, where people have really gone in depth with it, about the pH, how vital it is and stuff like that, you know what I mean, in a tank. And I've definitely seen that with mine since going on Calculator, like my pH. At first, I switched on the Calculator, and in my mind was to reduce the consumption of my aquaforest, because I was dosing stupid amounts of the aquaforest of each component. And I was getting to the point where I was like, it can't go on like this. So I was like looking at a way of dosing calcium and alkalinity in one sense to offset how much a dose of aquaforest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And never thinking in my mind about like the pH side of it. And it was only when I really delved into it, like the pH, I was like blown away with it. And now my pH never goes below 8.2. It's always at 8.2. I couldn't get my pH above 8 at one point. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was running a scrubber. Do you know what I mean?
That was with a scrubber, wasn't it? Because I've got mine up to 8.2.
I couldn't get it above it, mate.
With a scrubber. So it just shows you different environment, different rooms, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, you've been to my house and you've seen how small it is. It's not a mansion; it's a small room. You know what I mean? It's not very big. And when you've got like 4 people in here, you've got a great big, and and in the winter you've got all the windows closed and stuff to keep the heat in.
Fair point.
Imagine, obviously, there's not, you can imagine that's probably the reason why I'm having low pH. But I was struggling like mad, mate. Now, like I said, Calquasis got 8.2. 8 point now, the highest peaks it goes to. If I didn't have it on the apex, it would probably go way above 8.4, way above it. And it's only because I have it linked to the apex.
Yeah.
I have it controlled that if it goes above 8.4, it switches off. So it switches the dose off. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the only reason. I reckon if I left it, it would probably go stupid. You know what I mean?
It got
to 8.4.
What are you dosing? What are you using the dose for? Is it for the Aquaforest stuff, or is it for the Calquasa?
The Versa, you mean?
It's the Calquasa. It's the
Calquasa.
That's controlled by the pH, because then you also dose Aquaforest as well, don't you?
Yeah.
So what's that come down to, Steve? Because you was dosing like 300 and something, weren't you?
350, mate.
What is it now?
Of each component.
What are you dosing
190.
now?
190.
That's 190. Done by a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. So dosing 190 mil of the calcium and the calcium and the alkalinity, yeah. However, the magnesium, I'm dosing 320 of that, because remember, calcium, Calquaso doesn't dose on magnesium; it only doses the calcium and the alkalinity. You see, so I still have to supplement. So whereas like the magnesium, that's dialed in bang on. That's about 1380, 1390, and it's always like. Yeah, but I know exactly how much I'm dosing of that. 320 mil every day. That's good to go. You know what I mean? And we stick at that. But we can manage with the magnesium. But when everything else was going, like it was 350 of this and 350 of that, it was over a litre just in solution. You know what I mean? Into a tank. And then I was like, wow, obviously we need to figure out something. And then thankfully I went on to the Calquaso. But the biggest changes by far is the growth of the coral, and that's what we're going to come back up to in this stream is later on. Is like I've seen on the SPS growing, especially like on that PC Rainbow and the other millipora. And what it is I see all white tips, but I can see like really long white tips, but there doesn't seem to be any flesh on it. It's as if the skeleton is growing too fast for the flesh to grow up, to catch up with it. It's a strange one, mate. And I was like, is this receding? But it's not. It's not RTN or anything like that. It's just that quick. It seems to be like the skeleton seems to be growing so fast that the flesh can't seem to keep up with it. I don't know whether that's a true assessment of it. I don't have a clue, mate, because I've never think. But the growth in it has just gone through the roof. I'm forever snapping things off coral now. Do you know what I mean?
I would say, Steve, that's a good thing, because I've had that in the bigger tank. There were certain corals where you was getting probably half a centimetre, maybe a little bit more, where you just had like it's not a stub, but the tip is not pure white, but it's fairly white, and then it goes down about half a centimetre, then you start getting your polyps. So I would say that is good.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so, mate, because, like I said, it was a bit concerning. I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? Especially with PC Rainbow, because, as you all know, they had the alkalinity spike. Yeah, that looked like it was on its way out. It looked like it was dead. And then I moved it, and I was like, managed to lower the alkalinity back down, and it was like, all of a sudden, it seems to have come back to life, and the colour of it has gone fantastic. Yeah. And then I looked, and there's like loads of new tips growing out of it all over, but it just looks like it's white tip. Do you know what I mean? Like big white tips and no flesh. So I'm hoping that the flesh will come on over time, but I don't know. Only time will tell. Do you know what I mean?
But you're feeding that. What was that new thing that you're feeding from? Is it Coral Vits? The new solution?
The Coral Power Food.
Yeah, that's it.
Coral Essentials. Yeah, the CVE. Yeah, big, massive improvement. I mean, just the colour of the coral. Do you know what I mean? The colours just seem really, really colourful, really vibrant. You know what I mean? In the SPS and the LPS and stuff. But I mean, overall, the tank is healthy. Don't get me wrong. I'm this Sunday. I'm posting up my ICP results, which have come back, and I think you'll be all pleasantly surprised with them. Considering it's a tank 4 years without a water change, you know what I mean. It's I was shocked myself, to be fair. You know what I mean. Just a couple of parameters that are out, which I'm assessed and hopefully got to the bottom of. But only time will tell. You know what I mean with it all. But it's with this game, as you all know, it's a balancing act in it. Just try to
of course it is. Of course it
get
is.
to that magical number, and you know.
I always struggle with iodine. Iodine is like not my nemesis, but it's always coming up on ICP tests. So I got to a point I was doing like free
too
drops.
High or too low?
Too low. It's always like you depleted. So I was doing like 3 drops of the ATI stuff before I moved to what I'm using now. But I'm gonna do an ICP test. I was supposed to do one on Tuesday. I was just lazy, so I'll do it on Monday and see what comes up on Wednesday. So so fingers crossed it'll be all good. When I came back speaking to about the pH thing, one of my corals, I realized that there was a lot of growth on there, and the tips were white, but it's actually lost a bit of color. So I tested my PO4, right? My PO4 sits at 0.02 at the moment. So I was like, then the nitrates, because I didn't feed the tank for 2 days because I was away.
Yeah.
And my nitrates were sitting at 1. So I was like, right, so here we go. So now the tank's actually asking for more feeding. So now I'm doing like 2 cubes
more feeding
a day. Yeah, just to bring it back up.
So it's a combination of different things, isn't it? The corals are growing, they're sucking up the nitrate, they're sucking up the phosphate.
Yeah.
They're consuming the alkalinity, so your alkalinity's going down. So you need to kind of put more in it, both in terms of supplement.
More food,
and also in terms of food to get both of those up. Otherwise, you lose the color, and then you bottom out, and you get other kind of problems, don't you? Like your dinos potentially, or cyano, and those kind of things potentially when it bottoms out. So you're cool. So is that the first time you noticed since you set up the tank that that you've had quite a big dip in alkalinity in a short period of time?
No. During the summer months, believe it or not, like when the windows are wide open, my pH goes up and the alkalinity just gets slammed. So like right now, I'm dosing like 0.7 mil every hour for 24 hours. This stuff, and it was like 1.1 when I was on ATI. Yeah, just because it was like 8.3, 8.4, but now it's like 8.2-ish, 8.3-ish. Yeah, but the growth, you can see straight away once you're above that 8.2 number, guaranteed. So anyone out there that wants to, you can see some growth, pH, people, pH.
I agree. I totally agree with everything you said there, mate. 100%. I definitely see, if I think back in my mind, growth-wise, before higher pH, it grew. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it didn't grow, but it was definitely slower growing. Now, all of a sudden, now that over this past maybe 2.5, 3 months of being doing calc, I just see like it's a total transformation, mate. The growth, not only the growth, but like the nubs coming from everywhere, mate. It's like, what the hell, branching out from here, things that I've never seen before. And I'm forever like snapping them and throwing them in the bin, and like, because it's come to that point where it's like the tank's growing too fast. Now, people will say that's a good thing, but then some other times you'll say
problem, isn't it?
Bad thing. It's a problem as well, especially if you've not got a frag tank. It's not like if you've got a frag tank, you can frag them and put them in a frag tank, and and then give them away, or sell them on for £5 a piece or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I haven't got a frag tank, so all I do is I just snap them and put them in the bin or put them in the graveyard. That's it, mate. That's all I do. I don't do anything with them, which is such a shame. But there's nothing I can do, mate. It's come to that point where there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, that's what's happened to me with this one here when I was on the Aqua Forest. Like I was in about 200 mil a day on this tiny tank.
Yes,
I got to the point like every 2 weeks, I'll just stay with like scissors, just bone cutters, taking pieces out. It got to the point my scraper to clean my glass, it wouldn't fit around the size of the tank. It was just packed full of SPS, so I just had to just break it off. And I just got really like fed up. I was like, restart, let's go again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It is. It's, you know what? I do see people like exactly like yourself where you just reset it. And I don't know, like, if I could ever do that. I've come to the point where I love my tank. The only thing I could ever do is just buy a bigger tank and stick all of this tank in that. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I could restart another one. from scratch because invest all your time and your money and, you know, your blood, sweat and tears, it goes into it all. And you're like, oh, and then just to like basically rip it all apart, sell it, and then start again. I know it's a challenge,
but
and I know some people are up for it.
But like I said, when I came round, you could actually trim a lot of it right back.
Yes.
Take out the Stylophora and the one to the left of which I can't remember the name. If you took those two biggies out, which you'd have to take a hammer and chisel to those. Yeah, you'd have to kind of take some water out to do it. You would then free up loads of space to enable you to then add some more SPS, but then you'd have to cut back on the left-hand side and thin it out, wouldn't you? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Have you got the heart to do that? Because you'd look at it and you think, what have I done to begin with? Because it would look really bare, wouldn't it? But you're replanting and everything else, and it would grow out, and you have smaller number of colonies, but bigger colonies. And I think that looks quite good in a. I
think
in a tank.
And you'll save when you're dosing.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right, and that's it. Yeah, you dose and remember, you plumb it. Your alkalinity and calcium will plumb it that much. Then you know what I mean, because those are like trees, aren't they? They're like the size of trees. You know, you take those big chunks out, mate, which are calcium deposits, aren't they? That's what they are. They're big chunks of calcium. Take them out, and your tank will be like, what in the hell's going on here? You know, because you've took out two of the biggest. Well, I reckon two of the biggest consumption of the calcium.
I would say they was the biggest.
100%.
But also your phosphate and your nitrate will go up. Because when I was breaking down this tank, I took out two big colonies, and within about 10 days, the nitrates and the phosphates, I'm thinking, what is going here? I was feeding no different. I was dosing no different. But because those two corals were there, well, actually, I did have to take the dosing down, to be fair. But all my parameters was just all over the shop.
All over. They will do,
watch what you do when you so maybe do it bit by bit.
Exactly.
There's a comment there from Johnny around calcium reactors. I think it's about 5 or 6.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Because I've got to say, the one above that, Stay.
Oh yeah.
I run a calcium reactor for 2 years on a frag tank. And I've got to say, the frag tank, I mean, there wasn't that many fish, was the easiest tank I looked after, because I set up the calcium reactor. I did it as if a doser, not like when you got a pH, just as a doser.
Yeah.
Testing every week. In that 2 years, I didn't buy any new media. So you think I didn't have to do any kind of dosing whatsoever. I did some of the minor trace elements based on an ICP, but I did the one that had all 3 of them. So it had some magnesium in it as well. And it worked a treat, because calcium reactors, I think, look really complicated. There's wires, there's not wires. There's tubes all over the place. But when you look into it, it's actually
simple.
Easy
it's simple.
It is to run.
It's simple,
really
mate.
So I've got to say, go on.
No, I just have this fear, like when you put the CO2 bottle in, I'll just hear a big explosion, and I'll come in my front room and be like, "Oh, these them paintings and that, just colors everywhere on the wall."
No, it wasn't. You have to. I mean, that could happen, I suppose. But I just did some research on it. I just set it up and just done it as a dose and just increased it. And I had it off a stepper motor. I had the stepper motor running 24 hours, so you keep the water going through the reactor, and then you have on a timer, the CO2, and then as your uptake goes up, you either increase the drip rate or you increase the amount that the timer's up. So it's a bit like dosing. So your dose will work, exactly 15 times a day for whatever. You just have the calcium reactor running with the CO2 for a period of time. So you can run it, I find, 2 ways, one with a pH probe and one is doing it as a doser. I think the proper way is you're supposed to do it with a pH probe, and it monitors it and switched it on and off. But I just did it as if I was dosing. It was so easy to dial in and to run. I done it gradually because it was on an existing tank, although there wasn't much coral there. But I've got to say, as for a cheap way to dose, and you haven't got to fill up.
Of course.
Obviously, you've got to top up. I think I had quite a big reactor, to be fair, so that's why the media didn't go down by a massive amount. It was only about 200 litres, I think, the tank. So a calcium reactor that was like for 500 litres. I bought it for peanuts.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to try it out. But I've got to say, I think a
Mate,
calcium reactor is brilliant. But
yeah.
you got to have the room.
Always said it.
You got to have the room.
Exactly. I've always said it, mate. Always said it. If I could seriously strip my tank down and get everything out of that cupboard, and I didn't need to run anything on that cupboard, I would 100% have a calcium reactor. There is no doubt in my mind. You wouldn't need it. You don't even need to dose separate magnesium, because you can put magnesium. There's magnesium blocks in there that you can actually stick in the calcium reactor as well.
Media that has it in
the media.
The only thing is your pH. You know what I mean? Yeah, your pH can go down with a calcium reactor. That's the only thing, I think, if I remember rightly, that can go down a little bit. So you're kind of going against what calc does. But again, it's just another method that works for people. And some people may not have a problem with that. They may have that their pH is really, really fine, in which case you put it on there, or you can buffer it a little bit, maybe with something else like a CO2 scrubber or something like that, potentially. And there's other things that you can do. But for me, it worked a treat. It really did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I see like a lot of people with the calcium reactors, what they do, they have like a second chamber where they kind of like fizzle out, or they you can
recirculate. So I did the recirculation. So it goes out and you've got a tube. I don't know the science behind it, but basically it goes all up and all the way around and back into it. So you actually burn less of the media. So I had a recirculation on it as well. And so therefore you burn less. Yeah. And it's more economical. Not that it was uneconomical, because it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, I think it's like anything in it. You know, when anything that's new, what you're going to put on your system. Yeah, well, I was in that, as we spoke about before, Paul. It took me 6 months to go on the Calculator route, didn't it? You know, because it wasn't about setting it up. I knew this procedure of doing it. Yeah, it was about the change, what would happen to my tank. You know what I mean? And the monitoring it, and what, you know, good sides to it, bad sides to it, you know, potential hazards, etc., etc. These things were all going on in my head. These were the things that was putting me off. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with a calcium reactor. You know, when I was reading up on it at first, I was like, "Oh my!" It was like a scientific study. Do you know what I mean? But then when you got into it, and I started reading more on it, I thought, "That's way easier. I could easily do that." But I just haven't got the space to put a calcium reactor in my. I've got no room. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. Just to put one there. Do you know what I mean?
I'm looking to see if I got room there.
If I did. Yeah, you got to, I can't. There's no doubt in my mind, because, like you said, you wouldn't even need any tubs. I wouldn't need any tubs or anything. You wouldn't be dosing any of that aquaforest stuff. You wouldn't be dosing any calculator stuff. You wouldn't need anything really. But it's to set it up a bit, you know, the initial start of it, because you still need to supplement your tank with the calcium and the alkalinity and the magnesium whilst you dial it in. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only thing why I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? I dare say if my missus would let me get rid of this white unit at the side, I could get another white cabinet, which is all open back, and then I could shove all my gear in it, could I? But that would take some persuasion, I think.
I can see why your missus is not overly keen on you taking that part of the living room over. And I can see why, when we said about have a 7-foot tank, why you wouldn't have a 7-foot tank in that room, because basically that would just take over the whole room, wouldn't it? But, you know, this thing about I was reading a thread on Ultimate Reef today, and there was people saying do it in a different way, and they say it's really easy. If I didn't know anything about cold wash, and I'm not an expert, I know a little bit from on here. If by reading that thread and all the people differing one another, I would think it's really complicated. Just by the people who say, I do it this way, I use a stirrer. No, you don't use the stirrer. You need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. And there was the usual kind of people going backwards and forwards. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't go anywhere near it by reading this thread, because I'd be totally confused. So I think there is a lot about people, not deliberately, but inadvertently confusing people, because the way they talk, the way people were writing their posts made it sound really complicated. When actually, when you get down to the nuts and bolts, if you follow a process and you do it and you measure it in the right way and you don't mess around and you do this and you do that, you'd be fine.
Yeah, I think what's kind of putting me off is the real estate.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need that. You need like a good sized tub, don't you, to put it all in so you can last like a week or so.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it depends.
You know what I do. I have mine in my 25-litre jerry can, type thing. Yeah. I have it in there. Yeah. And I basically, and it lasts me what, 14 days? You know what I mean? Give or take 14 days it lasts. Yeah. All I do is I take out 2 liters of water out of the 25 liter, tip it in a 2 liter jug. I put 36 grams of Calquasa solution, give it a mix up. Yeah. Turns a dead creamy, like milky substance. Tip it back in the 25 liter jerry can, give it a bit of a shake it all over, stick it back in, let it settle, let it all go to a clear before I switch it back on, and then switch the Versa back on, and it's done. That's it, mate. It literally takes 5 minutes from start to finish to set it up, mate, and it's done. And it lasts me 14 days. It's just so simple to do. When you see Calquasa stirrers, what they do is they oversaturate it. So what they do is they put shovels of it in the bottom of their tube, yeah, in their Calquasa stirrers. And what they do is every hour that stirrer will turn it. And what it does is it moves the Calquasa from the bottom, stirring it up, yeah. But you never ever dose that into your tank, the slurry, yeah. You wait, all you're dosing in is the clear stuff, and the clear stuff that goes in. Whereas because of me, I don't need all that big thick stuff at the bottom of my barrel. But I don't need that. So I've mixed it to a concentrate where I know it's going to be enough, yeah. So 36 grams is absolutely perfect for 25 litres. You know what I mean? If you was doing 50 litres of water, then you just double the 36 grams. So it'd be 72 grams. And you just keep doing it like that. That way, what happens is, once I've mixed that up, you can look at the bottom of my bucket and there's no sediment at the bottom. There's no extra, you know what I mean, at the bottom. So it's mixed perfect to the ratio of what the water is.
What about putting in the ATO? And like your ATO chambers and that? What about
you can, there? You can do. But it's not advised. And the reason is because your evaporation in your tank is different, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it could, one week it could be like, month to month, year, sort of thing. So what like say for instance, the summer or the winter, evaporation might be say 2 liters, yeah. But in the summer it might be 3 liters. So remember your alkalinity will be up and down and stuff. Whereas like with mine, I have the Versa, which I must admit is like one of the best pumps. Well, probably is the best pump I've ever used. Yeah, it's because you can micro dial it in. So I can literally dial in. So 2 liters of the stuff goes in my tank every 24 hours, and it's dialed into perfection, mate. Like it's just like a little drop in your sump. That's all it is, mate. Just a little drip going into the return chamber. And it's just, and it does that 24 hours a day. Just keeps going around and I know exactly how much is going in my tank. That keeps my tank at 8.5 to 9 DKH. Never goes above that. At this moment in time now, it'll be, let me just have a look on it now, what it's saying.
Yeah, I'll be thinking now,
It is 8.83.
What is your alk? Yeah.
8.83 and the pH is 8.21.
Wow.
8.83 and 8.21. And it's just it's literally like that all the time, mate. It's literally like 8.78, 8.83, 8.85, 8. I think the most I've seen it go to is like 8.96 or something. You know what I mean? That's the higher end of it, but it never goes above 9. It stays between 8.5 and 9, which is the 0.5 is fine for me. It's not a big massive variation in DKH. Only if you're going up by like 1 and 2 DKH and fluctuating that way, then obviously it could be an issue. But my tank seems to be okay with that, mate. You know what I mean? But it is the best thing I've probably ever done.
So Steve, that pH that you got on there, that's off of your KH keeper, isn't it?
Yeah, off my KH keeper.
Is your Apex? Have you got a pH probe on your Apex?
Yes, on my Apex.
So that's your pH off of your KH keeper, but you're actually monitoring and controlling the dosage via your Apex, aren't you?
Via my Apex, yeah. My Apex. Let me see what my Apex is. It's very. To be honest, it's actually similar in a sense.
But it could be different because that's coming out your KH keeper when it's tested.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be much different. To be fair, should they? If they're both calibrated,
you'd be surprised.
Then they should be calibrated.
Right. So my pH. on the apex now, it's 8.19.
Can't knock that, can you? 0.21 against
just
0.19. So you got
8.19 it is. That's what it is. So so 200 so they're out. So I think I can deal with that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna
within a decent error range. Yeah.
I'm not gonna mess about with that.
No.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That's what it stays at. You know what I mean? And really, I don't know. Really, it's just, in one sense, it is one of the best things I've done, to be honest. Go onto that calc. So I know people just like Woody there, calc is king. And, you know, Carl said exactly the same thing with the one above it. And it truly is. It works. And that's what's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not one of those gimmicks where you think it might work or try it. It could potentially work. It's none of that. It does work. It actually works. You know what I mean? For your system. So, I mean, I don't know why most people don't go on it. You know what I mean? In one sense, like you said, I think a lot of it, at least like what we just spoke about, is people are a bit scared, like myself. I was nervous as anything, saying, "Oh, mate, yeah, you know, and yeah." You know, you're like, what happened? Yeah, but what happens if we overdose it? Or, you know, what happens if it malfunctions? You know what I mean? Your tank is completely wiped out, which it will be, granted. But you've got to try it, haven't you? You want to do something, and you want to, you know, the best for your corals, and, you know, you want to see some, you know, growth, or, you know, your higher pH. You've got to try something new, and that was in the end. It was just to me, I've got to do it.
There's so many different ways of running a tank, isn't there? And so therefore, people say about 2-part and stuff. People get into hobbies. So if people try things, they have a tendency to stick to that and don't always change. So also, as a couple of people said, Calc-Wash has been around for donkey's years, and it's come back in as a, who knows whether it'll be a fad, exactly to Paul's point now, or whether it'll be one of those things that's here to stay. I don't think it's a coincidence around people focusing more on pH, and therefore calc is now back in fashion because of the link between the two. That's the only thing I can think of. That if you go back 2 years ago, a lot of people weren't talking about calc-wash. So don't mean people weren't using it, because they were, but it wasn't talked about as much. And also it's cheap as well.
Exactly.
As I see what Cole's saying now about it's cheap. So therefore, like yourself, if you're dosing a hell of a lot of elements and that's costing you the earth, and you're thinking, what's a cheap alternative? And you can buy it as cheap as chips. It's obviously more expensive if you go for the Reefing brands of calc-wash. But if you buy the cheaper version, it's a marginal cost in comparison to what you're dosing.
Exactly, mate.
But, you know, like you said about the fear of you overdosing, if you have something like a Trident, you can, you know, set it up so every 6 hours you can test to see what's happening, or even more than that when you first start it off, and then you can kind of dial it in. That's what I think, Paul, we spoke to me about the dose that you use it, and you can tie it in with the Trident to kind of like really narrow down your wave for your alkalinity and calcium. And I think that's a good way to go with calc-wash if you're starting. So that might be, you know, the next point of call for this bad boy here. Get a dose on there, on there, and start doing that.
Yeah.
Dosing the calc-wash, because you've got the Trident, you've got obviously an apex, so you know you've got some redundancy there to control it. So if it did start to play up the apex, now of course then you got to have the stepper motor fail to keep on dosing, or to maybe it starts spinning quicker or anything else. Then you got to have your apex probe, and then you've got to have the actual apex controller to fail, because your redundancies are the original kit, the pH probe, and then the apex energy bar, because let's face it, the brain goes to the energy bar and switches it off, doesn't it? So all of those could fail, but as you've put more things in the way, you've got more redundancy. That's what you're less likely. It's not impossible, but it's more unlikely, shall we say, for it to there when you've got that kind of thing in place, which obviously you've both got.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's like why I've got mine fingered up to my apex, you know, for my calc-wash. So it's just like I didn't want the pH to go above 8.4. Now I know a lot of people. I've seen a comment up here. Let me if I can find it. Someone was saying, I'm sure somebody said that they run their reef bum. Was it pH at 8.1 or Something like that. I'm sure I've
must
seen
be
it.
alkalinity, man.
I think I saw 8.1 to 8.3.
There
I think it was. Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah,
9.1.
Reef Bum's latest guest, a sustainable reef, has their net between 9.1 and 9.3. Now, I didn't think that was.
Wow.
I didn't think that was possible, to be honest. But,
I thought 8.5 was like the part where you shouldn't go above because it's too like
exactly
rich or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I always like I said, that's why I always have my apex set now to 8.4. So if it goes above 8.4 or it starts at if it's 8.4, then it shuts the Versa off. You know what I mean? So it stops dosing the Calquaso in the tank. You know what I mean?
Show me how to do that, Steve, man. You definitely show me how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No problem. But it's so simple to do. You know what I mean? So simple to set up, and it's easy, mate. It just switches it off because it goes off your pH probe that's linked to your apex. You know what I mean? Like I said, so it's easy, mate. But I don't know. The thing with it, is really I don't know how many times it's actually shut off. How high, whether it has gone to that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it just switches it off, doesn't it? You know what I'm saying? So, unless I actually look back
if you look on the history
on the pH, on the history,
you look at the history. I think it will show when it switches the pump on and off. It'll go on, off, on, off. Because you can set an alarm if you wanted to on that. So I'm assuming what you're talking about. You set up on Fusion in Apex.
Yes.
The probe, and it says if it goes greater than X, then off, and if it goes below Y, then you switch it on or something, and then
switch on.
You put you used to have to do a code on the old one, the classic. But the new one, you just put the levels in, don't you?
That's right. Yeah. You just put when you want it to come off. And then obviously when it goes back on, when you want it to come back on, do you know what I mean? So it's simple, mate. It's really straightforward.
Yeah, what about temperature, Steve? Like, what do you keep your temperature at? Do you like go for a specific number? Do you have a chiller on your tank, or you just let it go?
No. 20. I tend to run mine about 25.8 to 26. That's why I run mine at 25.8.
Really? Because I run mine at 20. All three tanks of mine are set at 25. I don't know why 25. I've just always kept them at 25.
25.8 it is. Let me see. What's mine running at now? It's running at 20. Temperature is running at.
Check on mine.
Just checking on mine now. So the temperature is running.
We discussed this a few months ago about, and I think it was when Dom. So that's how long ago it was when Dom was on here.
Yeah.
He was talking about if you drop your temperature by, half or one, you can run it at 25 rather than 26 to save on electricity, especially in the winter, and stuff like that. So there was some tips, weren't there, about running your lights at slightly lower setting, looking at your pumps, running those at slightly lower wattage and things like that, just to tweak your electricity bill. But I've run mine at 25. I don't know why 25, but I just have.
So I've got my 25.7.
25.7 mine's sitting at right now. Yeah.
So usually start like 25 to 26. That's where I put mine. Usually goes around to 26.2. But then the heat is off by then. But summertime is the killer. Summertime, I'm just so paranoid. Like when we had that heat, those heat waves, I actually had to she's going to be so mad when I say this. I had to actually buy an AC for the comfort of my family in the front room. To keep it nice and cool in there.
We panic with our time. I mean, God, during that thing, I don't think I had my heater switched on for 4 or 5 days or something. It was just the sheer heat in this room. It's like a greenhouse, mate. I was like, oh my God, and the temperature was just raising, and I was like, and I switched the temperatures off. I switched them both off, the heaters, because it was that warm. I knew 100% it was wasn't going to go cold in this house. Do you know what I mean? It was just terrible. It was. Well, like you said, it's those sort of things. I'm always panicking. When it's hot in this country. When I'm at work, I'm always like on edge. You know what I mean? I can't settle down. When I'm working, because I'm always thinking, God, what's the temperature? And you check it, you're like, oh man, the temperature's too high, especially on your apex, and it's like 27 degrees or 27.2. And you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna go back to boiled fish. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what the hell?
I definitely could agree. It got to the point that I actually bought cameras for the house, and I had it in like a little tripod.
Speaking to Jay, it's Jay in disguise, isn't it? What the hell was going on here?
Jay has a camera on the tank all of the time, so he's at work and he's always looking at his tank to make sure it's okay. And he sits there thinking his lunch break, looking at the camera to make sure. He probably sings down the phone to the fish because I think he can. I think he can actually speak to him. He'll watch this back later. I'm sure, Jay, put in the comments at some point. I'm sure he sings to his fish when he's on the camera.
Sat there eating his pot noodle and his jam butter on his dinner break, and he's watching his fish. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's mad.
Yeah. That's good entertainment.
Well, you know what? No, it is. Absolutely, mate. Jay, yeah, great guy, Jay. Love him.
Hey, Paul.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's all of these things.
Paul, sorry for cutting you short. Like you mentioned about the mini tank. How's that going, man?
So it's kind of right, actually. So the NEMs, the biggest NEM is actually that's right at the back. So that's actually been there for about 3 days. The other two, they've all gone around the bloody back. So I've got the other two. You can just see it poking out there. It's there. Yeah. I actually think I've got to adjust the light. So if you look at the light just dips at a slight angle towards the back. Yeah. I need to change the light. I think I need to point it down a bit more. So I suspect what's happening, they're not getting enough light at the front. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust the light just to pivot it up a little bit more. And also I think I'm going to turn up the par. So not next weekend, but the weekend after, I'll probably get some more NEMs. So I want to get another 3. So that one hopefully will stay where it is. Those two I've got to know what they're going to do. So I want to get another 3 NEMs to put across the front. I've got an ACAN there that I'll have to take out, but the rest of it's empty. So I'm going to put 3 NEMs around here and then just see where that takes. But I think I haven't got enough light at the front of the tank. I mean, the corals that are there, the ACAN's looking really good. The bubble coral's looking really good. But I think they've gone up there because there's better light in there. So I thought it was a flow issue, but I think it's a light issue now. So I know what the par is there. I think it's about 160 around that level. And I think that's not enough. So I need to change the direction of the light and turn up the par, which I can do. So I might try and get down here to about 250. If I can get that to 250, then I think I can be right. But I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, when you watch them, they go on, they're bouncing around, they're moving around. And then when they fully open and the big one at the top, it's got all these lovely white markings in the center of it. And I've never really kept NEMs before. So those people got NEMs who say, like, get over yourself. You know, we've had them for years, but I think they're absolutely beautiful. It's actually beginning to grow out the bubble tips as well. Because there was no bubble tips. Now it's starting to get the bubbles in it. And I'm just feeding it these NEM pellets. And I'm feeding them at least once a week. If I see the mouth open, I feed another pellet. So I reckon probably once to twice a week. All 3 of them are getting that. But there's still some other corals in there. The candy cane is still getting stung as they move around, and they look fine. They're immune. The other day, one of the NEMs was actually all the way around it, and until yesterday, one of the other NEMs was actually on the stem of one of the candy canes. It actually put its foot onto it, and it looks as good as gold. So I think they move around when they're not happy. But I've seen less movement in the last couple of days than I had in the previous, 3 weeks or whatever long I've had them. So I can't wait until the whole tank is full up with NEMs. But I'm just taking my time and then get 2 or 3, wait another 4 or 6 weeks, add some more in, and just see how it goes.
Yeah. It seems like they settled. Seems like they settled, and if they're not moving around, that's the reason.
Not so much the last couple of days.
When they settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're settled, they're usually good. Yeah. John Wright, talking of the temperature, I've got a cheap 2-foot tank full of rock and sand. I don't have any livestock for it. Does it need to be heated to keep the bacteria alive? Paul?
So I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
Because I think you need to create the conditions of a normal tank, so therefore heat. I'm not too sure about a wave maker, whether we should have a wave maker in there to help with the bacteria. Probably because you have less. I suppose the thing is you have less dead spots and you're circulating the water around, aren't you?
Like curing rock,
so therefore that would probably help, and it wouldn't stagnate. Because if you haven't got flow in there, the water could stagnate. So I think it helps that. And also, you wouldn't have any. You haven't got any fish on it. Also, to keep the bacteria alive, you need to keep feeding it. So if you don't, if you just have live rock in there, and you don't have anything else, then you've got nothing for it to feed off of. So once it's cycled, then you need to keep feeding. So what I do with the tanks when I start, I don't usually put fish in for 8 to 10 weeks. So once they've cycled, I keep topping it up by putting in small flake, and they'll disintegrate, and then they'll go into nutrients and they'll break down. So you do need to keep feeding the bacteria, or as the bacteria will die. So I'd keep it heated. I'd have a small pump in there. Obviously, you don't need lights, and then I would feed it.
Would you put some bacteria in it? So would you dose some bacteria in, into it, or would you have some copepods or something, or some live stuff? I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I put copepods in there. I've put a little bit of phyto in there to feed the copepods.
Yeah, to feed it.
I'd culture my own live brine shrimp as well, because that's fairly easy to do. Yeah. So I put stuff like that in, and if you've got copepods, phyto, live brine shrimp, that all helps with the tank, and then ghost feed it. I'm not saying it's the perfect way. That's how I would do it. And for the first 8 to 10 weeks of a tank, that's what I tend to do. There's no substitute. By putting fish in, it makes it a lot easier, for sure, because you've got a natural bacteria going in there with the food waste. For the waste of the fish. But I would heat it, small wave pump, and I would ghost feed it.
Yeah.
So I must admit, what I would do in hindsight with this, I would have made the rocks. I made the aquascape before, because I knew the shape of the tank. I would then have put it in a big tub, cured it for 3 or 4 months, and then put it in there, and then it would have made life so much easier, because you've got no lights in it. You would have had nice cured rock after 4 months. Put copepods, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, when you lift it out and you put it in, you lose it. You might be able to grow some sponges and other stuff onto it, and it would have made a difference. So I think if I could, I would do it that simple. I just think it makes life easier.
No, I agree, mate. Pelagic. Swim up, my name's bred like mad, almost pest level. I think you'd like that at this moment in time, wouldn't you, Paul?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Pest I think if you've got a mixed reef, what you don't want is them splitting and then wandering all around your tank, as and Jay will test it.
I know.
If you've got a NEM only tank, then you could say happy days. I suppose the issue is when it's totally full, then you almost got to put a couple of pieces of rock in there, get them to move on, so then you can take them out and sell them or give them away or whatever you do on that. But if it's a NEM only tank, you're not really fussed where they go to. As long as they don't go near any power heads, then you're fine.
Yeah. All my mates stitching me up with an anemone there. Sorry, what did you say, Steve?
No, go on, mate. No.
I was he stitched me up with the anemone. It was a Malu anemone. I had the fluval M60.
Yeah.
And this thing, when it actually spread, it was like the size of a dinner plate. So it was like half the size of the tank. And it covered all my corals. So I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I actually took out all the rock and take this thing off the glass. It was massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge, mate. I mean, they're beautiful. Don't get me wrong, beautiful creatures. But I had a bubble tip in mine, and it split from one. And I was like, at first you're excited, are you? You're like, oh, it's great. This is split. And then the next thing you know, 2 to 3, then 3 to 5, and then you're like, what in the hell? What's going on? And then I put them in a basket and I got rid of them. But I had that big one, which was just an absolute nightmare to get rid of. And thankfully, it managed to rest its foot on the new rock that I added to the tank, and it finally wedged itself. And that was so. I was just so. It was like all the Christmases had come at once when I got that out of the tank, because it was stinging everything, mate. It was killing everything. You know what I mean? And the great like what Paul's going to do. An enemy tank, beautiful. They look incredible. You know what I mean? boy, they look awesome, mate. They look fantastic. But I think anemones should just be left to an anemone tank, especially, you know, the wandering ones like them. I mean, all right, rock anemones, they don't really move around much. They're beautiful. You can have them in your tank, don't get me wrong. They look really nice as well. But the ones that move about, like the bubble tips and stuff like that, mate, they're just, I would keep them to their own tank, their own species.
Quick question, man. How many fish are you going to put in there? You going to have like a harem of like clowns in there? Or?
No, because I've only got 4 fish in there. So I've got a pair of clowns. I've got the cherub angel, and I've got an orchid dotty back as well. So I've got 4 fish. I'm fine with the 4 fish. And also I've got 4 fish that can be really aggressive. So I've deliberately matched fish that can hold their own. I only saw for the first time the other day the cherub have a little bit of a go at the dotty back, and I think it's because the dotty back went into a certain space where the cherub was. So that's happened there. So it's almost like, and cherubs and angel, I think, are quite territorial anyway. I think dotty backs are as well, and clowns are. So I probably won't put any more fish in there. It's 100 litres. Could I put more fish in? Yes, but I don't want, the aim of the tank is not to have a heavy bioload. So I've got 4 fish. I'm happy with 4 fish. And I'll leave it at that. I wouldn't want to put like a pipe fish in or anything like that, because that could well get bullied by the 4 fish. And if I put another aggressive fish in now, I think the terror, it's quite a small tank. So yes, I could put maybe another 2 in there, but I'm happy with the 4 fish. The whole thing is an anemone tank. And I've tried fish that I haven't had before. Obviously clowns I've had, but a cherub, but an angelfish I haven't, so I wanted that. And the dotty back, I haven't had one of those before. So I'm finding, and as I set up new tanks, I try fish I've never had before. So in the floating aquascape, I've got like a hawkfish, and I've got a pipefish, and I haven't had those before.
Well, that's good. That's good, isn't it? It's like a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge for you, isn't it?
It's just something a bit different,
isn't it?
Yeah, and each different tank I get, I want to try something. I've had a really big, not really big, 450 litres, I think is quite big, mixed reef tank, done the floating aquascape. So any new tanks I set up, I want the tanks to be different, or the way I set it up to be different, because I'm at that point in a hobby where I just want to try different things, just to the challenge different, and also I'd love to get a bigger tank where I can get a really nice angelfish, like one of the bigger ones, but I'd have to go back to a 5-foot tank, and then I couldn't put my scollies in there. So I've bought another scolly, so I've now got 4 scollies in another tank. I would definitely not put an angelfish in with scollies. It might be all right, but imagine it. I get it one morning and it's tucked into all the scollies. I mean, I'd cry.
I know,
Paul, how about this, How about in your garage? Apparently, you have a garage, You have like a pond.
I have a garage that has 2 tanks.
Hold on a minute. Don't talk about this garage, mate. It's like another warm house, mate.
Is it?
I'm going to live in it. I'm going to start renting it, I think.
Oh, dear. So, go on. I have a garage that has a radiator, so it's heated,
Yeah. So how about you have like
and it comes with its own butler. How about that, mate?
Don't talk about Jeeves. He won't like it.
Jeeves. You have a pond in there, man. Have like a saltwater pond. That'll be sick.
No.
Nah.
It's not a big garage. It's not very wide.
Just take half of it. That's all you need.
I've got half of it already with 2 tanks, and then on the other side is a load of rubbish that you keep in a garage. I've got one side in fact, the other side where the rubbish is, I've got 2 or 3 shelves that's full of reefing rubbish as well. As well as a shed full of stuff as well. It's just mad. But it's a good idea.
Hey, come on.
No.
Come on now. Yeah. That's what he's saying, mate. That's what he's saying. I think we need to pay him a visit, mate, and inspect his shed or his garage or whatever he wants to call it. I think he's telling us porkies. Yeah. So that's not that small. But anyway, I'm having a look down to see if we've got any. Let me just go back there. Yeah, Rich said, what do you guys use for power bars, and how many plugs stroke wall sockets do you use? Well, I have 2 power bars, No, 3 power bars. I've got 3.
Are they all Apex ones?
We use 3
Apex and non-Apex.
I've got 2 Apex ones.
Yeah.
And one non-Apex one. Yeah. But they're linked. So they're plugged into 3 wall sockets. So yeah, so a good amount of power, but not as much as it could be. I don't think, you know what I mean. Considering that's the one good thing with the Apex. You know, with the Apex is they're not all linked. You can have like the link what is it, you know, the 6-link cable that you can link and you can join them up together, don't you? So you're not actually plugging them in.
Certain things.
You can daisy chain them, yeah. So but you can daisy chain the majority of the stuff. You don't need to have a plug for a lot of the Apex gear. It's all like 1-link cables, or it's just like, you know, the normal plug-in, the little finger ones, like what you get for your stereo, you know, your speakers. All these ones, mate, they're all like interlinked. So that's a good thing, and that's exactly what it was with the other power bar. You didn't need another, you just linked it, daisy chained it up to the original one, you know what I mean? So, and I'm funny you should say that, because I was looking at on eBay, there was a guy selling a power bar, and he was going for it, and he wanted £82. He'd only, I think it was like 18 months old, I think he said. I thought, well, an eight, you know, the Apex bar. So I put a link, so I was like, I click on it, and it was like £82. So and then it just gets on going up and up, and it got to like 100, and I think it was like 128 quid, and then it was like £13 postage. So a brand new one, I think, is what, 220, 240 or something, I think, in it. Just for the bar, for the power bar.
Yeah.
For the new one. No, yeah, for the new one, it's about 220, 240, I think for the brand new one.
Yeah.
But this one went up to I think it was 120, 122. And I was like, oh, I'm not bidding any more than that. You know what I mean? No chance. So if I would have done it for like if I could have done it for like 120 or something, 110, 120, I'd have gone for that. I'd have had it, mate. You know what I mean? Because I'd had a third bar and done away with my one. But it's I don't know how much it actually went for. To be fair, I've not actually looked. It will be on my phone.
So how many plugs have you got running? And then when it goes into the wall, is that into how many sockets are you using in your wall? So obviously you've got the 2 Apexes, haven't you? And you got 6 slots on each of those. So if you've got all 12 slots full,
all 12 are being used.
You've got another power strip, and how many's on that, Steve? Roughly.
It's a single one. It's on the power. That's behind the back.
Yeah.
You know, behind the back of the tank. Yeah. On that one, I think there's only 4. There's only 4.
So you got
basically on that one.
16 running.
16 plugs.
And what does that go to? How many plugs in the wall does that go to?
3 sockets.
You got 3 sockets.
So there's a double and a single.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got basically 16. So also, it's not just that, because it sounds like a lot, which obviously it is to have 16. But you got some that maybe not running very often. So it depends on how often they're running and what wattage is going through it as well, isn't it? So your heat is obviously going to be pulling a lot of power.
Yeah.
But then other stuff won't pull hardly any power at all.
Exactly. Remember, so I have this skimmer that's linked. So everything you see on my tank is linked to put into the Apex. The one behind the back, the only one behind the back is the KH keeper. What else is it?
So it doesn't need to be. Your lights could be on that, because you don't need your lights on Apex, do you?
Yeah, no, the lights are on the Apex. That's the weird thing. They are on there, but they don't need to be. I totally get it. Yeah, but they're just linked into it. And then obviously the Versa. Yeah, it's just the way it's set up. And then the Versa is linked onto the Apex as well now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which wasn't, because you're controlling the calc.
Yeah. So everything is all linked onto it. Do you know what I mean? But the good thing with it is with the Apexes, because you can switch it off, so you can set them. So it's, say for instance, so like if for instance, which is very rare, when I feed my fish, and I switch my return pump off, if I went onto my Apex and could be bothered, I've linked it now where when I switch my Apex off, if I have my reactor going, and my skimmer, when I switch my return pump off, both of them switch off as well at the same time.
Makes
sense. Know what I mean? But you could also, which I'm gonna do, is I'm also gonna, when I get this Tunzi set back up, I'm gonna plug the Tunzi into the Apex, because that was another one that's linked to the bar at the back, I'm going to plug the Tunzi into the Apex,
yeah,
take out one of them, and then I can link the Tunzi then, to the Apex as well to switch off. So I can add that onto it. So when I switch my return off, when it goes up, when it raises up, the water raises up into the return chamber, the Tunzi alarm goes off because it's saying that the sump is full. You know what I mean? When you finger.
Yeah.
Whereas I can just switch that off and the Tunzi will go off as well at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So
that's
there's
what I like about
Apex for it.
You can set up a button ABC, can you? I did that on that tank, that you press one button and it puts whatever you want into feed mode. So I used to have the pumps go into feed mode. And if it feed mode, I put the skimmer. So also if I wanted to do a water change and I'd press a button, the skimmer would go off and also the heater would go off, because I would always empty the sump, forget to turn the heater off, and all of a sudden you think, oh no, you see it smoking or whatever. And likewise, and it would go off for a period of time, because also I found when I then done the water change, I forget to put the heater back on. So the Apex is really good that you can program different points, not just to switch off, but put them onto feed mode so they'll go off to a certain time. So I used to find that really useful when I used to do a lot of water changes to do that. It's lazy really, but it saved me forgetting to turn things off or forgetting to turn things back on.
Yeah,
exactly.
What return pumps do you have, Paul?
I have, well, on this one, it's the standard one, but usually the tanks I like the Ecotech. The Vectra. So I used to have the M1 on this tank. I've got the S2 on one of the tanks in the garage. And then the other tank, I've got an Eheim tank that I bought with that tank. And that pump must be about 5 years old. It's not controllable and it just runs. I'm just waiting for it to go. But it's, I think Eheim pumps are really good. But I've never had them. I never think of them as a return pump, but I bought it when I got the tank. So I thought I might as well run it. And I've been running it ever since. But really, I should swap it out for like an S1 or so an S2. So I might do that at some point when I get, because I do like the Vectra. I think the Vectras are really good. I just think they're really solid,
sturdy
workhorses. And I've had an M1. I had an M1 for 6 years from when they first come out until I closed the tank down. So I think they're good tanks.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was thinking of doing that myself, to be fair. With this one, he's putting an Ecotech on this because, like I said, to be honest, I'm edging towards Ecotech. When I sat down thinking about it, I'm like, I do seem to have a lot of Ecotech gear now, and I don't know. There's been no real reason why. I've just bought them. I've just got. I don't know why, mate. It's like I've just gone. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to use this because I think this is going to be the best thing. The lights have been a game changer for me personally. Then I had the Versa, like another game changer. The MP40, I already had an MP10, the MP40. So it's like I'm getting an Ecotech system here, setting it up. But like Paul said, the quality of it, they've been around years, and just the sheer quality of them, the quality of them are great, mate. The products look fantastic. So, and that's what you pay for. You pay for. I know. I'm not saying stuff. I'm not saying like, certain gear you buy is crap. Yeah, because it's not. Because you know what, I have a DC 4000, the J-Cod DC 4000 return pump on mine, mate. Yeah, and they're the only pumps I've ever used, mate. I had one on my 170, and then I switched that one when I bought this one, and that only just died last year, towards the end of last year, and then I bought that one and I put it on here, and then it's the best £89 I've ever spent in my life on the tank. So they're virtually silent, mate. You know what I mean? And they run, and they just continuously run. They're perfect. You know what I mean? No problems whatsoever. But I'm thinking just for the ecosystem, is like maybe getting like an S2, because I don't run mine stupidly, like 10 times turnover, like the old school used to say. You need to run it 10 times turnover and all that.
Yeah.
Because that would mean I'd have to run 3,000 litres an hour, through my system and all that, which is not going to happen. I think I'm running at like 2,000, I think now, mate.
You need to run it enough for your clarity, because if you run yours too low, the clarity doesn't work.
Right.
I found that on the one in there. I had to dial it up because the clarity wasn't working. I wondered why it kept on bleeping. And then I was looking online, and then I spoke to Paul at AAC, and he then said about the flow, because I didn't need much flow through it. And then I turned the flow up. And guess what? It was working. Then the clarity worked fine. It stopped bleeping.
What's your flow percentage now, Paul?
Oh, I'd have to look on it. So the S2, I think I run about 60%.
That's decent, but I'm at 90% on this. I'm even lower mine then.
I think so. I just turned it up sufficient to run the clarity because I'm thinking I've got 2 MP40s in the tank. Probably still not enough flow, but I've got 2 MP40s at one end of the tank because it's in the garage. When I go into the garage, I see from the side view, so it's almost like it'd be better if it was a peninsula. So I've got 2 MP40s that way, and also with the DD900, you've got a duckbill, so it's quite narrow, so it actually shoots out quite powerfully. So I just needed enough for the clarity to work, and then the MP40s. So I've got 2 MP40s blowing this way, and the duckbill actually going the other way, and it's got quite decent flow coming out of the return pump. So yeah, that works fine. But that's the mistake I made. There was insufficient flow to keep the clarity going properly. So I can't remember how much you needed per whatever it was to make sure it was going through okay. So I just dialed it in and then it stopped bleeping. I was just getting so frustrated. I couldn't understand why I was doing it wrong. But you know, you live and learn.
Mm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Steve, you love your clarity, don't you, mate?
Love it, mate. I love my clarity. I do definitely. If ever anybody ever said, like we've said it before, like one of the best things you could have for your tank is that. That's the best thing I've added in my aquarium by a mile. I hated cleaning out the filter socks. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? Let's change the filter socks to the filter cups, and then put the filter wool in it. You know, with some bio balls in it. I hated that. I hated cleaning that, mate. And it was just like, no, I'm not. I just don't like doing this. And it's not about being lazy. It was just like. It just seemed like it was every solitary day I was taking stuff out. You know what I mean? Like cleaning it, and I've said it before. I like to keep my hands out of the tank. Don't like doing anything in my tank other than cleaning the glass and feeding the fish. I don't like to. I just like to keep my hands out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, and then when I put that clarity in, it was just like boom, a game changer. You know what I mean? And then changing the roles, people have messaged like, God, don't you find the hard changing the rolls? I'm like, no. And they were, how do you do it? Do you take everything? No. I just get 3 staples, like staple the end of it, 3 staples, get the button and feed it through, like, and it feeds onto the other roll, and then wrap it up, put it on. It takes not less than 5 minutes to do. You know what I mean? It's simple.
If you let the roll run out, that's when you have a problem, because you have to take it out. Well, you don't have to, but it's a right pain in the what's it trying to get your head in to try and do it. So I totally agree.
I learned by that mistake, mate. I've learned by that mistake. Yeah, the very first one, and I was like, no chance. Getting my hand in and then try to unscrew the bolt, and oh god, and then ripping your hands to shreds, you know, on like the vermin snails under in your sump and all that. And no. I was like, no way. So now it's like a trusty old stapler, 3 or 4 staples in it, and then feed it on the roll, at the end of the roll, feed it through, feed the new line through, and it's done, mate. And it's back in within 5 minutes for another 3 or 4 months. And that's how long I actually have lined for about 4 months or something. That's how long it takes, you know what I mean, to be changed. But,
I agree.
I love him, mate. I love him.
So switching to SPS, because quite a few comments in SPS. I mean, obviously the tank behind you is SPS dominated, isn't it? Have you got anything else in there other than SPS?
I've got like is it Acanthastria? If that's the right word for it, and pink gunny, massive. Well, it'll just be like a little nub, nice, like massive. And I've got 2 micromuses on there on 2 different discs, and that is it. Everything else is SPS in there. And what I find SPS tags to me is a bit easier than the LPS. I don't know if people agree with me on that, but I think it's easier to run. It's just literally just nutrients and just aim for that stability. I just released a video tonight talking about like staying within ranges, and I think that really helped me out a lot with this tank. Because before, when I first started, I was chasing numbers like, I had to be on 8.4, I need to be on 450. But yeah, ranges, man, all day long.
And it helps that you got the Trident, isn't it? So obviously, I get Trident, and obviously we exchange messages on this. I like Trident because of the alkalinity. What I can't get my head around is the need to check on a regular basis. Was it 4 times a day or whatever it is, the magnesium and the calcium? I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just thinking, do you really need to do that? I'm not sure. No. But I've looked at the Trident and I do wonder whether I should get it. So what's your views on the Trident?
Right. I call it, this is an ATI. So it's an automatic testing instrument. That's all it is. So it's just there for reference. So you know what you're doing day to day, and you can catch mistakes before anything was to happen. For example, if you check your calcium, you know that you test at midnight, 6, midday, 6 and midnight. You know, okay, boom, my calcium's 500, might affect alkalinity. So then you know, okay, I need to stop dosing calcium. So you can, you know, check on your DOS or check on your D&D Pro dose and do. So in that regards, I say like Trident is really beneficial. You can really catch the mistake before it happens. Okay, and then again, you can know, you can know the rhythm of your tank as well. Like we talk about the pH thing. Higher pH, you can just see that calcium just that alkalinity just dipping those numbers, and you can say, okay, this is why this has occurred. And you just mentioned, I didn't even notice about the Apex thing, Paul, where in the history you can see when it goes up and down and stuff like that. You can actually check your trends.
Yeah, you can look at your trends. Yeah. You can have alerts as well. So there is so much you can do in it, and you're probably just scratching the surface. If you go for how they used to be called a classic, and you used to almost have to be a programmer to do it. But you know, people do all kinds of things like float switches. They run all their RO off of it. There's so many things you can do with an Apex. That's basically like it's a computer program, and now it's almost like plug and play because of Fusion. But I personally think it's a brilliant. Even though I've seen all the others, I still think it's the best because of what the capability it can have as a system. That's just my personal view.
I agree
on that. But so you think it's a good investment for what you've done. Would you, if you was like LPS, would you still think Trident is beneficial? Or do you think it comes into its own if you're looking to manage SPS where maybe you want to keep it more rock solid?
I think yeah. LPS, definitely. You can definitely use it for LPS. At least you're more forgiving with certain LPS as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to alkalinity and that. And it's just, like I said, so you know what's going on in your tank. Especially temperature as well.
Exactly. No, I agree. And I had this all the time with like you said, with with the KH keeper. It's like, why would you spend, X amount, 700, 800, whatever they are now, on a just to test alkalinity. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's when you can test it yourself. Well, hold on a minute. I like to enjoy my tank. Yeah, the least work I can do. Yeah, but get a notification if something is going wrong. That works perfect for me. And in a sense, the Trident, which I was looking at getting the Trident and put it on my tank. Yeah, well then I thought, well, hold on, I've already got the KH. I've got the KH keeper exactly. Yeah, I've got the KH keeper which tests the alkalinity. Yeah, but then how many times really do I theoretically test my magnesium? And really, I've only this past maybe say 2 months or so, month and a half, that I've started to test weekly, and that was only because I thought, you know what, I'm doing nothing. I'm going to test. I want to get the tank really good here. I want to get it up, make a good change this year, and that's the only reason I did it. Other than that, I tested my magnesium once every 5 months or something, 4 months, and it's very rarely ever tested it. You know what I mean?
I think I've tested magnesium this year, last year, never. I'll be honest, no testing. I just focus on alkalinity and calcium. And if that's solid, I know magnesium's good because that's what's regulating the calcium alkalinity. But saying
exactly,
that,
yeah. But so it's like exactly. It's like thing, but it's just something to look. Like I said, it's like, how could I put it? It's just something that monitors your tank and it gives you a ballpark. Then that your parameters are within range. You know that and it's just peace of mind. I think these machines that are coming out, it's just for peace of mind, and that's all it is for us as reef keepers. We see it. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. Perfect. And you get on with your day. You know that it's been that your tank's doing well, and that's it. Yeah. Whereas like someone who doesn't test the tank, and then all of a sudden something starts to go wrong. By the time it starts to go wrong for them, it might be too late for them to change it. That's whereas if they've got a machine, that can tell them, notify them. Yeah, I'll just keep an eye on your calcium is a bit low, or your magnesium dropped, or gone too high, whatever. then at least you know. You know what I mean? You get right. Well, let's get onto it straight away and figure out what's causing the issue. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only reason why I think they make them is primarily just for peace of mind for reefers. You know what I mean? To be honest,
it's a different way of doing it. It's using the technology, and you say it's peace of mind, but also you can tweak it, and you should stay within a range, and then you're probably less likely to chase numbers because it will stay in that range because you can tweak it as you go along. So with the Trident, how often do you have to calibrate it?
That's what I was just about to say. See, with the Trident, let me ask you a question. Every time you change your 60 quid worth of reagents, do you have to calibrate?
So how long does the reagent?
I haven't got a Trident.
You've not tried it.
No, he's got the pH keeper.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, right.
I was gonna get the Trident, but then it came back to my head. Yeah, it came back to my mind, thinking, well, should I realistically pay all that money for a Trident? Yeah, when really I've got the KH keeper. I've already got the KH keeper. Yeah. And I only test the magnesium once a week. But I know it's every 2 months that you're supposed to change them. Those reagents, is it?
Yeah. So basically, last 2 months, does it? On 4 tests a day, it's 2 months. So therefore, you calibrate each time you get the new reagent, right?
Yeah, I do.
And how do you find it, though? How do you find like the calibration? Because with the KH keeper, I mean, even this one, which is the best one that I've had out of the 3 that I have had, this one still a bit like, when you calibrate it, doesn't give like the perfect measurement. Sometimes I've got to do it like say 2 or 3 times. The calibrations process, to make sure it's got it dialed in. It might take 2 or 3 times to do it, but on the 3rd time it'll be like, right, we're good to go. What is it with the Trident? Is it like on point all the time?
On point all the time with my one. Like I think when you get your salinity or whatever the solution is in the white bottle, will tell you what the parameters are, like alkalinity, calcium, magnesium. You put those in on your apex, and then you just put the little the little sucker figure, what do you call it, the tube, that's it, the tube into that, and it calibrates it. It takes about I think it's about an hour or something like that to get done, and then just be there ready to go. Once you put that back into your tank, you can do a combined test again. So you can test all 3 parameters, and then we'll give you what you're testing at. And there's always like a little discrepancy on it, but they would always say to you, when you calibrate, expect there will be a drift, like plus what or minus what, but you will be within like a certain range. And I found with the Trident, it's literally plug and play, easy. And I don't think I'll be able to achieve what I'm doing now without the Trident. I don't think so. Because I'm not one for like testing water on like a daily basis. Alkalinity, but like, just long.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's the least testing, the more time we can enjoy our tanks. Then these machines are well worth it in my eyes. You know what I mean? Where they can, you just go on your phone, and like I said, really, technology's evolved in it. The old school reefers, they didn't have all the technology that we had. You know what I mean? The old, going back 25 years ago. We're very blessed in a sense of what we're getting. As reefers now, we look at our phone and we can see what we got. The alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, and everything sitting at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could have only dreamt of that. You know what I mean?
And errors as well, because all these like fires and whatever that's happening there, you can see if everything is working all right on your apex. If something's drawing too much power, you can go, oh, let me check something there. Something's wrong with that. Yeah,
exactly. That's it, mate. It's. I mean, for me, it's a win-win. These machines, to be fair, I love them. Let's see.
GHL, you think? In the comments, like, because we talk about apex.
Yeah, I know I've never thinking, like looked into the GHL. They look good, don't get me wrong. They look like a really good piece of kit. You know what I mean? I know that Prestige Reef, he runs all of them on his, doesn't he?
He does. I've had mixed reviews of it. Some people absolutely love it, and others people I've seen threads in the past where they've got it and just can't get on with it, and then they sell it and move on. What seems to be a common feedback is that it's not easy to set up and it's not easy to use. So not user friendly. But I mean, I don't know if that's factually correct. It's just from what I've seen. And it could be that people sell it because, you know, sometimes you get on with things and sometimes you don't. It could be the kit's really, really good. It's just not for you. But it doesn't seem to be as popular as the KH Keeper. I know it does different things, and you can get the direct, and there's all different things that you can do with it, or you can get for it. But yeah, Prestige Reef has had it. He's got it in his coral farm, hasn't he?
He runs about 6 of them, doesn't he? He's got with his coral farm. Yeah, they're all. Wow. He's got about 6 of them all programmed, hasn't he? Yeah. I mean, he swears by him. He had, was it on his last video or the video before that he mentioned about him, saying that that what do you call it? That he loves them, you know, and that they work, and on this new tank that he's setting up, he's going to be running that, you know, the fish tank, the big one, the water box,
isn't it? That's going to have an angel.
Yeah, he's going to with an angel. He's going to be running it on that as well. Yeah. So,
but what's interesting is some comments above about you don't need to test on a softy tank and just do water change. And that's the thing, isn't it? You can on things like Zoas or you know hardy LPS and things like the LPS I've got in here like War Coral, Chalice, the candy canes. And I've got some Zoa. They're really hardy. That's why I threw them into that tank. But those you don't need really to test. You can test every so often just to make sure your nutrients haven't gone like way too high. But just with water changes on those, they're not going to soak up loads of alkalinity. Well, sometimes Chalice do, but in the main, those hardy ones, they can swing all over the place, and it won't make any difference in terms of temperature and your parameters. And that's another way of running reef, isn't it? You can be a lazy reefer. You can be a lot cheaper, and you haven't got to worry so much about stuff.
No, for sure. Yeah, exactly right. Let me have a look. I'm seeing if anybody's said anything. Let's see.
I'd say there's a comment.
Carl's a good point there.
Yeah, I hate tech.
I hate all the tech, more things to go wrong. Yeah, that is a valid point, Carl. Yeah, I'll give you that one, mate, to be fair. You know, I mean, the more we do put on our tanks, you know, we say that they're more fail-safes, don't we? We say fail-safes, fail-safes for our tanks, but what happens if the machinery goes wrong? A bit like my issue with the Tunza, you know what I mean? Now, the Tunza, I have got it back, got the Tunza pump going. It's not on
there we go.
because I sent it off in the box, with the magnets and stuff like that. He sent me the actual pump and the sensor, but he's not sent me the magnets and the holder. So it's a nightmare. But I've spoken to the guy from Tunza. He said he's been on like a permanent test. He's tested everything. He said he said that he can't find any fault with it, which mind-boggling in one sense. I'm either doing something majorly wrong, but it's given me a few pointers and stuff. And also Paul from AAC, so I want to give a massive shout out to him. He reached out to me, and he gave me a few good pointers. He's obviously he's the owner of AAC, and he's sold hundreds and hundreds in his time, he said. And he gave me a few pointers, a few tips that might not actually be in the Tunzi actual instruction book,
What was that?
Basically, when I set it up, the first time, which I mean, I didn't think it was that hard to set up a bloody ATO. You know what I mean? Let's be honest, As we all know, they've got 3 fail-safes on them, haven't they? Yeah. But the first time when you set it up, you position the sensor, the actual sensor, optical sensor, just above the water line of your tank. Because when you switch it on for your first time, it does like a test. It does like a test, with the actual machine, and it dumps water in your tank for 30 seconds. Yeah, and what that is it's like a, like when someone goes through a process of starting up, like kicks
a startup process for the first time, like chipping it,
that's exactly what it does, But if you, in my mind, what you do, I thought, well, surely it should be in the water, the sensor. So where that sensor is, at the beginning, but it's not, because what happens is it starts to dump a load of water in. And then that water then goes above the sensor line, and then that thinks to that sensor that the sensor tip is there, but it's not. In reality, it's not. So what he said you need to do is raise it above, keep it a couple of mil above the water and let the water dump into it. Then once it starts to rise, it'll go literally about 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters on that sense, on the tip of it. Yeah. And he said you shouldn't have any problems, because if I'm getting precipitation, I'm getting it on that whole sensor body, on the bottom of it where it is, yeah. And that could be affecting it, because he said they're so acute, they're so dialed in, to changes, yeah. That could be a potential why it was dumping all that water into your tank. So I'll only know when I've set it up, do you know what I mean? But like I said before, I've pre-ordered the new Red Sea one.
Red Sea one,
so yeah. I'm buying that anyway. So we're gonna see that, and then we'll see where this Tunzi go. This Tunzi might work perfect, or I can keep hold of it, because you never know, I might get another tank or a small tank, and I could just shove it on that. So it doesn't really matter. I've got everything to set up a tank other than a tank. You know what I mean? It's mad, mate. You know what I mean? I've got everything, skimmers, the old lot, heaters. Well, I'm just not yet. I just need. I haven't got space for another aquarium, not yet. But maybe you never know.
So the guy from Tunzi, because the last time we spoke, it was last week, wasn't it? Because we was giving him a bit of a dig, Tunzi.
Yeah.
You'd email. So did he come back by email, or did you chase him again? What happened?
Well, to be fair, Paul from AAC.
Yeah.
He actually knew it. He says that he knows of it. He knew him, and he's known him. Yeah. And he says, like, and he gave me a thing saying, look, he's a sound guy. Obviously, things have been miscommunication between maybe him, the shop I bought it from, and stuff like that, yeah. And maybe he might not have received your emails, etc. So there was a few things that
but he got it sorted out. That's good.
Came about. But then, so he said, what I'll do is I'll send him your number, send him your number, and get him to reach out. And fair play, you know what? I reached out to him, and I spoke to him for about 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and he was sound. Apologised, saying that obviously things have got lost communication. He's been testing it, and he's had it on test since he's received it, and this, that, and the other. So, I mean, my biggest thing was not getting an email, not being acknowledged. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, for me, and that's all it was. Not about it. It was never going to get fixed because it's under warranty. So it was going to be fixed either way, yeah. It was just about not being, like, oh yeah, we received it. We'll keep you informed, even if there wasn't no sensors available, let me know and keep him aware of stuff. But I didn't hear anything for 3 weeks, so that's the one thing that was peed me off. Do you know what I mean? But you know what? Thankfully, I'm glad that it's all sorted, and everything's fine now, mate. So as soon as I get my magnets, mate, we're going to put it on, and then we'll see where we go. And fingers crossed, it'll all work good. I'm hoping anyway, because I'm sick of bloody topping it up manually.
So there's one comment further up, Woody's Reef. I've seen him. He's setting up a tank with a floating aquascape, I think. Woody's done a comment. I think he's setting up a new tank.
Oh yeah.
He's setting. So Woody, what tank he's setting up? Because I do like a floating aquascape.
Oh yes.
Interesting to know how you using it. Are you using a shelf? How are you going to do it? Using an acrylic shelf? How are you going to attach it? All that kind of good stuff. So very interesting to see what you're doing. He's also said a good thing. All the tech makes you a lazy reef. I totally agree with that. And then he even said it himself that he's a perfect example. So it does actually make you do that, mate. But for sure. But on another hand, it makes you enjoy your tank even more, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So
one thing I'll say about
that, it's a win-win, I think.
You need to have the fundamentals down first, I think, personally, before you go and start buying equipment. Because if, like you say, if they fail, you need to know what to do. Like, go back to old school.
But I think also to understand the basics, because you get all the kit, but what are you doing? What are you doing with alkalinity? What are you doing with calcium? Do you know about nutrient control and all that? Because you still need to do all of that to understand, to dial it in and decide to do what you're doing. It just makes life easier. But I don't think there's any substitute for understanding what's going on.
John Wright with an analogy there.
I like that.
Absolutely. I have to agree. I hope my explanation which I just said before. He said he's had one for 12 years and never had an issue. Mate, I've read so many people with exactly the same, you know, with the same situation. Never had an issue, never had an issue. So it's either something I'm doing majorly wrong in terms of setting it up at the beginning, or maybe like I'm thinking, do I move my, you know, my dosing tubes? Do I move them from the return chamber? Yeah, and actually put them in, you know, in the set in where the skimmer is. I don't know. I really don't know what to do. You know what I mean? But I said this to this guy, Tunzi, and I said, with me dosing my stuff, you know, like me calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium, yeah, into the return chamber, should that have an effect on the sensor of the Tunzi? And he said it could potentially have an effect because, you know, like the calcification and stuff. Yeah. You know, the very fine, it could potentially. But he says for that to happen, you would have to be dosing a ton of it. Yeah.
Which he was, though, Steve.
Which was,
yeah. Doing a litre a day. That's a lot of
exactly
thick elements going in, isn't it? You're not just talking about water. If you're talking about a litre going in throughout the day, that's all the time they're pumping stuff into it, which could.
Yeah. 7 litres of crud that could potentially go on that sensor a week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow.
So it could potentially. But then I said to him, but then when I took it out, to clean it, there was only like a very, very fine film on it, and he did say, that these
they're quite sensitive
sensors they're so sensitive. They're not like the cheaper version. They're like, he said, they're like really tuned up to like detect anything. So, you know, if there's something film on it, you know, it will either not dose any water in because it'll think that the water level's up to it, or it'll overdose because you know what I mean. So, I mean, it's just so finicky. But I would have thought that surely, I mean, your dosing tubes, you know, Calquasor, you dose it. They all need to be dosed in the return chamber anyway. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, because they've got to go in a high flow area, unless you actually dose them directly into your tank. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't really want to do that, like dosing all that stuff directly into a tank. So the only other option is to run the tubes up into the return chamber. You know, into the overflow.
Into the weir,
and then let them dose down into the weir.
Yeah,
and then let it go down into it, and then it passes through. You know, the actual sump area first. I don't know. But we'll find out when I've set it up. You know what I mean? Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It'll all be good, but we'll see. We'll see where we go, mate.
Right, Steve, it's 9:30.
Yes. And one thing we haven't mentioned, it's giveaway time. Giveaway time.
Okay.
So, Phil from Coral Essentials is going to be giving us away the calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium trace bottles, the 500ml bottles. So you're going to be getting in with a chance of winning some of that stuff for yourself. So, I mean, I might even think about going on that myself. You never know at one point. But he's going to be giving that. So he's gladly giving us that for the giveaway today. So what me and Paul was doing was trying and running it, what we Paul, to see if we could spring it up on here. Because as you know, we usually stick our phone in front of it, and it's not very professional. And as you know me, guys, I'm not the best of with computers, to be fair. But we've managed to suss it. So my glamorous assistant Paul has said that he will be doing the Wheel of Fortune
of misfortune.
So
okay,
what we need to do is we need to say what are we going to put underneath for people to comment below what they need to do to be in with it, a chance to win it. What would we say? We'll need to say something. What could they put down? Oh, I'll tell you what. Where's Ross? Or where's Jay? We can put that.
Jay?
Where's Ross? We'll put where's Ross. Yeah. So comment below. Where's Ross? Paul will put them all down.
And then we'll bring it on the screen. So I'll bring it on the screen once I've done it.
Yeah. We'll bring it on the screen and we'll be good. So yeah. So comment below. Let me see. Where's Ross?
There we go. We're starting. So I'm going to start updating it.
Yeah, we're good. Perfect. Yeah, where's Ross? Howard's first. So let's see if we've missed any comments or anything like that. So I tell you what, Niran, yeah, let me go back. Let me go back on your reefing journey. Yeah, what actually made you get into the hobby? How did you start getting into the hobby? Did you start from a freshwater, or did you go directly straight in,
bro?
the deep end?
Nah, so I grew up in the Caribbean, literally on a beach, right? So I used to see people going fishing. And I was thinking to myself, how can I keep these fish? Yeah, so I was like, okay. So I used to get like little, I think they were like little tanks, and try to put them in aquariums, trying to keep them. I didn't know anything about temperature, flow, nothing like that. Yeah, so they didn't survive.
Wow.
So when I grew up here, I started experimenting with the fluval. Yeah, and I started to cut my teeth on that. So in 2016 was the first reef tank I had. It was a steep learning curve, I tell you what. I used to pay money for coral within like a week, dead. Yeah, actually it took me 12 weeks to cycle my tank.
Wow. Yes.
12 weeks. Yeah, and once it was cycled, first fish in there had brook. They died off. Yeah, and then just build up from there. But what I would say is what I really learned is patience, man. Yeah, patience.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what the one thing where a lot of people who I've given a bit of my knowledge to. Yeah, listen, I'm far from a specialist, far from very knowledgeable, but I try to speak the truth. Yeah, 10 times out of 10, and I'm trying to be honest with people. Yeah, if it doesn't work, I tell them. If it does work, then I'm the same. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, the first thing I always say with this hobby is patience. You need patience. Don't think it's like a rush. I know people say time and time again, yeah, you could add fish in the same day, this time, the other, blah, 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 with this bacteria. Mate, I did it the long way, like yourself, yeah. I did it with the old school prawn way, where you put an old prawn and it's rotten, and then that's releasing the ammonia, then you take it out, put another one in, and that's how I did it. It took, I think on my 170, I think it was like 7 or 8 weeks before it had fully cycled.
Wow.
Well, I did it. I read books. I researched it for about 18 months before I bought my own tank. Do you know what I mean? So I knew what I was doing because I knew the investment that I was going to be paying into it. I thought, if I lose this, spend all this money on this stuff, and I'm only in this hobby for 3 months or so, my missus is going to kick my ass, mate. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, well, I've got this gift of getting everything half price apparently. So that's the story I'm going. I hope she ain't watching, but that's my story.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I was like that with the coddles, but until my missus, she knows now, mate. She knows where
they gave it to me.
Where to stand with them. Yeah. How much did you pay for that? Oh, I only paid 40 quid for it. Oh, right, lovely that, yeah. And then she'd be Googling it, what it is. What's it called again? You know what I mean? So I just tell her the truth now. I tell my missus the truth. She knows more about corals than I do, mate, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's how I like you said, that's how what I always say to people. And I helped set a couple of people's tanks up, and the first thing I said was patience, just to let it cycle and then do your own thing, yeah. And then the next minute, they're throwing in huge tanks, huge clownfish, just an obscene amount of fish and coral, and before you know it, the tanks literally last a couple of months and then they shut them down. They spent all that money on it, and it's just a shame. You know what I mean?
And I would say, if you're taking advice from anyone, I always ask, let me see your tank. Let me see your tank. Let me see what you've achieved. Let me see your corals and the color. Because sometimes, when I first started, people were giving me advice, and when I saw their tanks, I'm like, that's not what I want. I want to.
That's a really good point about people giving advice. You say, well, let's have a look at your tank, and if they don't, then you find that it's probably naff.
Yeah. We've said this before on the past, on past videos, especially for me. So I mean, I don't know whether Paul agreed. Paul agreed in a sense, and Jay did, but for me, it was I've always said that I took advice from people when I seen their tanks. Do you know what I mean? When they were giving me advice, and they'd say, you don't even need to ask about, can I see your tank? Yeah. If they show you your tank and they say, look, here's a picture of my tank, here's a video of my tank, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, wow, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then I listen to him But those people who were giving me things on forums, on sites, and oh yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that. And then when you did that, have you got any pictures of your tank? I've not got any latest up to date ones, or and they changed it, and I was like, whoa, I'm not going to take much notice from these guys because, I mean, first thing I do, what if somebody asks me a picture of my tank? Why have you got a tank? Yeah, there it is. Oh, flipping heck. It's incredible. Look, wow, that's really good. How old's that? Blah, blah, blah. And it's the same where people say about, like, water changes. We don't believe you must do a water change. No, don't do water changes. Just don't do water changes. I've now done one in 4 years, mate. You know what I mean? And people just can't believe that I don't do water changes. But it's the truth. I just don't do them, mate. I don't know what. I just don't do them. Just don't do them, mate.
I'm slowly starting to see like the benefits of that. I think personally, if you're monitoring your nutrients for water changes, your salinity, especially with your sodium levels, and you do an ICP to check your microtrace elements, I don't see why you should be doing water changes. Don't get me wrong, they are beneficial. Like they add certain things that you can't test for, but from what I've been seeing so far on this, it's been good, doing okay without the water change.
See, I think for the first, I find the tanks the first 12 months. I usually do water changes, and then as the tank starts to mature and you get past 12 months, it becomes a little bit easier, a little bit more stable. Then I find that the water changes drop off. So the bigger tank I had, I religiously every Sunday done a 10% check for the first 18 months. And then after that, and then I went months without it because it didn't need it. I had no pox to take out the nutrients.
Yeah.
And then I was dosing different elements. I was doing all Red Sea at that time to put it all back in. So I was taking it out, put it back in. It wasn't overloaded with fish. So the bioload was okay. It was manageable. And I found that was okay. But I must admit, I do find water changes in those early stages just helps. It might be okay without water changes, but I do find with this one, it's only 10 litres. So it's nice and easy. It's probably the easiest water change I've ever done. But I try to do it every Sunday, 10 litres in, out, and done. And I think that has helped.
I think water changes definitely help for sure, especially if you're like not dosing, like things like, say for instance, when I had that little flag tank, I did a water change on that religiously. Like I said, I think it was only 60 litres, but I did like 15-litre water changes every week, which is neither here nor there. Yeah. But I did that, and then I was dosing it all for reef, wasn't I, as well? And that tank just flourished, mate.
I love all for
so fast. In fact, the reason I got rid of it was because it was just growing too quick. You know what I mean? It was just not big enough. And I was like, right, all of this has to go. You know what I mean? It was starting off as a flag tank, and it turned into like an aquarium, like a proper mixed reef aquarium. It was like, whoa, this is not good. But that was, down to water changes and the alpha reef, I believe. But like on this one, I've always said, like, when I stopped doing the water changes, and then I thought, you know what, we're going to see, because my nutrients were low, and I was like, let's see where we can raise them up. And then all of a sudden they hit a certain point, and then they stopped. It was like, oh, that was it, yeah. So then I thought, well, they're at about 10 ppm now. So if I do a 10% water change on this, that's 30 litres to take out what's it going to be? 2 ppm. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's just a waste of money. And then I was, in the end, I was like, no, I could do something better than that. So, no, I left it. And then it never, ever went to 10, because the bacteria was just keeping it at 10 ppm all the time. It never risen, it never dropped. It was just staying. And then it started to slowly go down to like 7 ppm. It's like, holy man. So I didn't need to do water changes. And then in the end, all I was doing was just topping up, like trace elements. Because I wasn't supplementing, because of what there wasn't in the salt, because I wasn't doing watching, and I've just stuck to that, mate. 4 years on, we're still there, and the tank's going from strength to strength. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, Hayley mentioned the thing here, like she's done both the cycling, the weighting game, and also the bacteria. And she both tanks have cycled. So yeah, absolutely, Hayley. There's no right or wrong way. I just did it the old school way, the older school, rather than the bacteria bottled, like the ATM.
Yeah. So for me, it's not about the cycle, because I think there's so many different ways you can cycle. It's after that, and those first few months, how do you get life into the tank, especially as everything we put in now is pretty much sterile. This tank, I did dead rock and I did dry sand. I wouldn't do that again. I would do live sand. I know you get a lot of opinion. People say live sand's a waste of money, blah, blah, blah.
Nah.
But I've got to say, I've used live sand in the previous 2 tanks, and I have not had the algae problems that I've had with this. Now, it could be different tank, different environment. So that, you know, you can't just look at it in isolation. But I've got to say, I'd probably use live sand in the future because I've used it in the last 2 tanks. I think it makes a difference, because this tank was like completely dead, and it's taken a while to get it to have some life in it. And I think there's an easy way of doing it. So the cycling, I don't think it's an issue at all. You know, ATM, put some fish in, as long as you put some fish in, that kind of thing, bang, you're cycled. But it's kind of after that stage where I think you have the problems.
Yeah. Quick question about the nitrogen cycle. So it's ammonia, nitrate, nitrate. Yeah. Now, I was reading something that like after the NO3, it goes another stage where there's bacteria that actually convert the end parts of the O3, and then you're left with what's it? Is it a nitrate or nitrogen?
Nitrite. It goes into nitrate.
Yeah. So the NO3 you're left with. There's another bacteria that converts that, and you have an oxygen molecule that's left. I don't know if I'm totally correct on this.
Wow.
Where they consume the end part of it, and that's like the 4th stage of the nitrogen cycle.
You might be right. I must admit, I haven't looked at it. If Nick's in the house, Nick will come in because Nick loves his science, and I'm sure he'll put something in there. Right, we've only got about 15 minutes left, so I think a couple more minutes. So do you want to repeat what the competition is? Because I think there's been some people joining late.
Yes, there has. Let me see. I think Robbo's Reef joined, didn't he? Yeah. So basically, guys, Phil from Corals Essentials is giving. As a giveaway, the calcium alkalinity and the magnesium trace essentials from Coral Essentials. Let me see if I can bring a picture up. We did have a picture, didn't we, Paul?
I haven't got a
send it
picture
to you.
Did you? I don't know.
Did I send it yet? I can't remember. I could have sworn I sent a picture of it, but maybe I didn't.
If you did, I've missed it.
Yeah. Anyway, there's let me see. I'm sure I've got a picture here of him. Yeah, there they are. So these are them, guys. So there we go. So that's what you'll potentially win.
Are you sharing it on the screen? Because if you're sharing it, it's not there.
What do you mean not sharing it? No, I'm showing it on my picture.
Oh, I got it right. Okay, I can see it now. It's all right.
So they're the ones that's going to be up for grabs. So yeah, Coral Essentials, calcium, magnesium, and carbonate. So they look fantastic to me. I looked into them, and I know, like, if I switched onto them, I think I'd only have to dose. They're that strong. I think I'd only have to dose them. I think it was like 45 mil. Of those in my tank a day. That's how mad it is, mate. So they're really quite.
So what are people got to put into the comments, then, Steve?
You need to put in where's Ross. So if you want to be in with a chance to win it, but where's Ross? And we're going to give it. We're going to what? We're going to give it till 50. We're going to give it till 50. Yeah. So you got 2 minutes to put your name down, and then Paul will add you to the list. And what we'll do is we'll bring it up on the screen.
Yeah.
And we'll do that.
Hayley's made a really good point that when she cycles a tank, she puts in copepods straight away.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I tell you, there's some really good videos from BRS when they did a test of 15 tanks and the impact that pods have. And they put pods in after X number of weeks, I think it was. And they said one of the things they would do is put pods in from the beginning. Because when you start getting the diatoms in that first ugly stage, the pods start eating it. So they start not only putting life in there, but they then start eating your diatoms and other stuff on the sand bed. And it helps just to put life into it, fight algae, and it helps the biodiversity of it as well.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm looking
really good set of videos.
Wow.
I'm looking here when Woody put down when did people start their reefing journey, and I'm a baby in this hobby. I think I think I'm the newest. What I think I'm one of the newest ones. 9 years, 7 years, then 8 years. 2011. What? 2006, Woody.
That's Woody, isn't it?
2006. Wow. John Wright, latest one, 40 months old, 35 years ago. Wow, with an under gravel filter. Oh my God. That is crazy. So yeah. Different. Mine was 2018. I was late 2018. I think it was like November 2018. I think I ordered my tank. And it got delivered. Sorry, December 2018, and it came in the beginning of 19. So yeah, 4 years, a little over 4 years, 4.5 years. I think I was. God, it's flown all that by. To be fair, Fish No Chips has just joined us. Hello, chaps. Better late than never. God, 14 minutes ago. You'll have to rewind it, mate. Woody Sport, don't start Nick off. Ayla. Nick's here, but he's driving. Fish
that's why he can't type. He's probably shouting at the
please.
However he's playing it, saying, if only I can answer that.
I increase the temperature of the tank to 29. Recycling, if there's no livestock in it, speed up the bacterial multiplication. So, guys, we have hit 150. That is it. Nobody will be included now.
Right.
Reef
so 2007. If you want to put it on the screen, then people can check to make sure they're on it. So hopefully people can see that. Do you want to take the comment?
So what we'll do, guys, we'll just add a check to make sure that your name. So we'll give it another maybe minute or two.
So we're closing your name is there. So I think the last person on there who put in was Errol. Errol's the last person.
Yeah, Errol. Yeah.
No more entries.
Yeah, Errol. So yeah, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, a minute or so, and we'll spin the wheel.
So check and then hold your peace.
Yes. You remember last time it started, the wheel was going round so slow, and it looked like it was going to be sort of an NG refill on it, wasn't it?
I'm sure that will happen here.
Literally the last tiny millimeter spin it went on it. Let's see.
There you go. Nick's managed to. Hopefully, you've stopped, Nick, and you're not on a motorway typing away. Right.
Yes.
I'm assuming everyone has checked their name, so I am going to press it now.
Good luck, guys.
Oh, Haley Barr.
Haley Barr is the winner. Haley, congratulations. You are the winner of Coral Essentials, calcium, magnesium, and KH. So congratulations to you. I'm sure you'll be you'll love that for sure. So Haley,
congratulations.
Message me up. And I said, congratulations. Message me. I'll send it over to Phil, and he'll sort it out.
So what's that? Message you on probably Instagram.
Message me on Instagram. Yeah. Message me on Instagram, Haley. Yeah. And send me your details. Send me your email, stuff like that. Your address, obviously, and then I'll forward it on to Phil. And Phil will be able to sort it out for you. So well done. I'm sure you'll definitely enjoy that stuff just as much as I enjoy the CV and the Coral Power Food, which I must admit. Have you ever tried that? Have you tried that, Dan? That Coral Power Food?
Yeah, I'm just reading about it now. I'll message you on Instagram about it because I want to try it because I'm doing Phyto every night. But yeah, I'll definitely try that.
Yes, I tell you, mate. Seriously, it's I mean, the other well-known powder food that we all used, the Reefroids, which has a tendency to raise phosphates. Now, if you want phosphates in your tank, that's no problem. Definitely carry on, keep on using that. But and I do. Out of my tank, the main issue I do have is probably the phosphates, but since using this stuff, I use this twice a week, this Coral Power Food, and since using this stuff, my phosphates have not even risen, mate. Not even risen at all, no. And I'm doing the dosage, what it says, 3 of the scoops, 3 like, because you get a little spoon in it, 3 of the little powder scoops into it, doing exactly what it says, and my phosphates have not risen at all. You know what I mean? Not even gone up 0.1. So definitely works, mate. Whereas when I was doing that refroids, you was definitely seeing it. But when I was doing it 2-3 times, I could see it raising up. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. But with this stuff, it's a win-win, mate. You know what I mean? Really good gear.
Good stuff. I'll have a look.
Definitely, mate. Yeah.
Never win anything.
Never win anything. Well, you've won today. You won today. Philip Hubble. Hi guys. Sorry, I only watching. No worries, Phil. Haley won the prize.
Bar.
So she's Haley Bars. She's chuffed for that, mate. Appreciate it once again. And hey, Phil. That's probably what's probably the calc. The calc. That's probably the calc stick. Let's talk about that.
The is that relating to phosphate? Maybe you saying phosphate?
Oh, right. See, got you. Oh, right. I see. Interesting. Monster Aquarium, just want to thank you all again for doing these streams.
Thank you.
Your guests and these. Hey,
thank you,
mate.
guys.
You don't need to thank us, mate. We love doing these streams. Part of our Friday. It's a part of our Friday night now. I'd be lost without doing these streams.
Do you know what, Steve?
I enjoy them.
I don't know if we have. We're nearly at the 2-year mark. So we started in March 2 years ago. Now we haven't done every week, so we have missed. But we have pretty much been on a regular basis. We started in March. I'll have to go back. Yeah. Ross would definitely know because I remember he reminded me before. It was about this time 2 years ago that we did our first live stream. I didn't think we'd be doing it for 2 years.
Wow.
And as I say, it's not every week, but we must have done 70 or 80 streams.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Roughly that. So we had Christmas off and we had a bit of a break in the summer, didn't we, last year? But that's pretty good going. It helps that it was it still is the 4 of us, isn't it? Just that Ross has taken a back seat for a little bit. But it does help that it's the 4 of us and obviously having guests on and things like that.
It's great. Like I said, it's great having guests and stuff on for sure. Like I said, like the open mics and stuff. It just brings a different perspective, you know, to the show. Like I said, we're here. We're not. You know what I mean? We're not like proclaiming we're the best of the stuff. Like we just say it as it is. We're just like honest people. Yeah, saying it as it is, mate. You know what I mean? If things work, what works for our tanks, we're not saying it's going to work for your tanks. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? We have a bit of a laugh, talk about fish tanks, we talk about other things, and it's just a bit of banter. That's all it is, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I think the majority, we keep getting the same guys, same people coming over, watching us, and we're getting more and more faces, different. Yeah, we're just getting new faces from America. Where was that other place where that guy was? Where was he from the other day?
Week, where was he? Puerto Rico. Because he had the Max Nano Peninsula. So I think he came in and was asking some questions about it. So we did get guests from Australia as well, haven't we? Which is quite good as well. So
they was talking about how precipitates phosphate out your system. Right, I see. I got you. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Well, that could have something to do with it. Then I'm not saying it does, but it could potentially have something to do with it. But the phosphates seem pretty on point, to be fair. And they will be in the my ICP test, which is going to be uploaded on my YouTube channel this week on Sunday at 4 p.m. Go and check it out.
Yeah.
Wicked.
How dare you take a break? I know. I'm sorry. Sorry, we will try not to.
Yeah, absolutely. So Drippy has asked a question earlier about the love to reef. All I can say is this time next week. There might be something this time next week. So we'll see.
Yes. Are you going to go to... Sorry. I know. Are you going to go to that near? Are you going to go to the Telford show? The one in Telford in October?
I'd love to do that.
Is it October?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do it. I'd love to come up. So someone said to me, speak to you, Paul, about tickets or something like that.
Oh, so there's two. There's Love to Reef, which there may or may not be an event. which is the one I
keep you
organised,
posted on that.
and that's like megas. That's really small. You know, it's all about the one I had last September was 50 people. If I have another one in this side of June, if I did, it would be about 100 people. That's if I do it. What we're talking about is one in Telford, which is a big event. It's a trade show that happens every 2 years, and they're opening it up to the general public. That is in October, so we're all going up to that. And then this week there was an announcement. There's one in Holland. So I went last year in November to Vivarium. So there's a show in Holland. It was really good. We flew over for the day to Holland. Went on the Sunday morning. Got back at silly. I think I left my house at 2:30 in the morning to catch a flight out to Holland, and I think I got home at 1:30.
Wow.
On the Monday. It was a fantastic day. It's on again this year. I think it's the 11th and 12th of November, or 12th or 13th. So I'll probably be going to that as well. So there'll be 2 big events to go, one in Telford and then one in Holland towards the end of the year.
Would you not stay the night though?
I couldn't last year. Whether I would or not, I don't know. I might do, but
I'd stay the night. You know, like I think it's a long day. That's a hell of a long day.
I was okay. The flights were 40 quid return, so it'd be cheaper to get to Holland than it would do to get to Telford. If I think about the petrol I burn, rather than going to Stansted, which is only 30 minutes away from. From
exactly, mate. Exactly.
So don't give me that on Chestnut. So Drippy, wait, just patience. Next week, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
time is
we'll
up.
Be at Telford. Oh yeah. So we're over on
time's up
next week.
We're over. Yeah, we're going to be over on Paul's channel next week. So once again, guys, really appreciate you all joining. Niran, really appreciate you joining us, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
You're more than welcome at any time, mate. Absolutely. You know, we enjoy it. It's really good, mate. So, yeah, really appreciate you all. You all subscribe, joining us in. So, once again, we'll see you next Friday on Paul's channel. Take care, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.
See you soon. Take care.